Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. This is a video about removing your streamer from your audio system, separating it. So I feel that the streamer is the root cause of most things that are bad in an audio system. Basically, I would say 99.99% of all systems in the world have, the streamer as the main problem. There might be a lot of other problems also going on in that system, but I've basically never listened to a streamer setup at any guy's place where that was the strong part. I've only listened to it at one guy's place where everything was kind of built around the streamer, and the streamer was kind of, making everything sound good. But that's like one out of, I don't know, a couple of thousand setups. I don't know. But I would also say that on top of that, most streamers we can buy now are just really, really bad. Almost like when it was here, 1982, and the CD player just came out. Now that's just my opinion, but I feel that that's kind of the place that we're in right now. Even though it's saying 2021 right now, we're basically in this stage of the CD player compared to when this, if you compare the CD player sound back then to the CD player sound that we have now. So there's still really like a long journey to go to make streamers sound properly. And I feel that at least you've got me now to show you how to deal with that. You might not have the best streamer, but at least I'm gonna help you now with this video showing you how to max out the sound. So like I've said here, as a minimum, just don't have the streamer on the same power bar that you have your DAC, your amplifier, your CD player, all of that stuff. Separate that, because usually it just kills the performance. The basically everything goes bad. And I kind of want to tell you guys that it's a good idea if you put your streamer directly to the wall plug, and that you have a dedicated circuit breaker and perhaps a better than standard in-wall cable and a socket plug in the wall. That might not seem to you here and now as a really good thing, but it can potentially really save the sound. And you might want to have like a power bar connected to that dedicated group, and then only have the streamer and perhaps like one other thing together with that, maybe two other things. But you just have to know that all of these internet boxes, all these streaming boxes, all these PC related things, they have like a life of their own, meaning that they just don't like audio power. They have a way of contaminating audio. And if you could, in an ideal world, if we could, we would all have dedicated groups for all the stuff out there. But it's not that easy, it still costs a bit of money to get your electrician to do all these things. So as a minimum, have a dedicated circuit breaker for your entire setup. Have a good power bar, and have like a decent circuit breaker, decent in-wall cable, decent in-wall plug, and that's for like your main system. And then have like, just at least as a bare minimum, just a dedicated circuit breaker for only your streamer, where it doesn't get shared with any rooms or anything else in your house or apartment or whatever. Just have that as like the absolute minimum. Then it will free up the sound, meaning that you won't have this sort of streamer fighting against the amplifier and the DAC or whatever you have. It will kind of, usually it will free up the sound, so the soundstage becomes more free, more big, more pleasant, a bit more natural. But yeah, you'll notice this more the more you get up in class, the better cables you get, the more everything kind of fits together. And you might as well from the start, it's one of the most basic things that you do before you do anything in your system. Just do those two things that I mentioned, you know. Separate your sound system from your streamer. Or if you don't have a streamer, if you only have a CD player, separate that CD player from your system. Because the contamination that we get at the source travels through all the rest of the chain. So everything related to the source has to ideally become separated, if you can at all do that. So also I would say that I think it's a very good idea giving your streamer a good cable, even though it might not necessarily be a very good streamer, because you have to think about this. Most streamers out there, they lack natural color, humanity, priority, personality. And if you're just putting like a regular cable on and it's not even in the right phase, you're just gonna have to use so much time, so much money fixing that later on. And yeah, you can always fix that later on, but it just basically means from the get-go that everything you do just gets kind of wasted, all the money that you use. So you might as well fix this from the start. Now, of course, if you could upgrade the built-in LPSU, PSU, or whatever comes with that streamer, or if that's just a standard power cable, upgrade that power cable. And I've got some suggestions to how you do that. I like most plugs are dark or bright or plingy. So just make sure you get some good stuff. I've mentioned some good things here, and I think this is like very important that you remember this, because this is something that nobody talks about. If you can save the sound at the streamer part, and I'm talking about doing stuff that you don't normally do. Of course, check this with your technician that it's legal. But what I did with my streamer was that I made sure that I had a double pull on the power cable at the minus pole, so that it stabilizes the sound. It makes it more natural and unloads the sound. So I don't get this sort of nervous energy going on, you know. You just get like a type of flow going, instead of it trying to go like, look at me, all over the place. And you just don't want nervous energy. You don't want an empty shell of sound and like a nothingness where you're just listening to basically sound that doesn't have any substance. And it's so easy, if you own almost any streamer out there, for the sound to just to not really be there. You know, you're listening to sound, but it's flat, it's bright, it's all over the place, it doesn't really do anything. So that's a really good tip. And also, if you're into USB cables, you know, you might want to consider getting something like this. You know, it's a fantastic starter, good value cable. You don't necessarily have to go a lot better than that, even though you can get more clarity and focus later on. But it's like, it's a cable that kind of gives your sound a priority, a personality, Whereas if you're just going for a normal $1 scrappy USB cable, you're going to get a very empty, naked, raw type of sound that's going to be all over the place. And that natural glow and stuff that, you know, that pulls you in, it's not going to necessarily be there. So this costs like $50 or so. So I suggest that you get that if you can, and if you can keep that short at around 0.5 meter to 1 meter, that will again give you an advantage. Because when you see people use 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5 meter USB cables, it flattens the sound and makes it less engaging. So you lose that coupling effect. You lose the clarity, the focus, the attack, and it just becomes like this sort of, you know, swinging boat type of thing where it's all over the place, you know. And you'll be looking at upgrading your amp and speaker and all kinds of things, and it won't make a huge difference when you do that, because this basic little shitty cable is just gonna sabotage your sound. So I think it's just very important to remember that streamers aren't really that good, the ones that we usually buy, and you want to kind of hide all the bad stuff that's there and put something there that inspires you, you know, that gives it a bit of color, a bit of personality. And so even though it isn't the best streamer on the market that you've gotten for yourself, you kind of want to still put some kind of priority, some kind of taste, some kind of character on the sound. And that's what you usually get when you get plugs like this and a cable like that. So you can always get stuff that's better than this, but I won't recommend it unless you've got crazy good systems. So that's important to remember. And yeah, like I said before, there's actually a lot of room for improving your sound on your streamer. So you basically just take your streamer and everything related to it, switch, router, converter, FMC converter, modem box, all of these sorts of things. Just isolate that, you know, don't put all of that stuff one place on a regular power bar, or have it being shared with your sound system. I mean, that's going to sabotage your sound. And I also think that if you can run with a cable over to your streamer, so you're using cable, and on top of that you've deactivated Wi-Fi for, I don't know, use on your computer or phone or whatever you do that. If you can avoid having Wi-Fi on your router, modem, whatever it is that you have, it kind of gives a bit more firmness, a bit more real warmth, a bit more natural attack. Whereas if you start activating Wi-Fi, what usually happens is that you get this more negotiated type of sound, where you start hearing more of a normal PC sound, where it's kind of flat, it's kind of nothing, it's kind, you know, it kind of dilutes everything that you're doing in your system. So all the stuff that's good just becomes that tiny bit less good. You know, it for a lot of systems you won't really notice a huge difference, but the more that you move up, the more that you move up to a higher standard, the more that you'll notice that Wi-Fi is just evil. It kills sound by oversimplifying, generalizing, creating a lower level warmth, just making things more simple and PC-like, you know? So you're getting further and further away from the true depth, the true instruments, the true voices. So if you can skip that, that will really help you a lot. And it's not enough just running on cable. You have to, on top of that, deactivate it, because even though you're not using Wi-Fi, it's sort of a power drain on the gear that you have. It's kind of running 90% power instead of 100% power. And we really want that. We want things to be more revealing, more reactive, even though it potentially might also reveal stuff that's bad in your system. The fact that you have something that's revealing its true nature, that's not putting a mask on of makeup or whatever, it's really a sort of luxury nowadays, because you don't know what you don't know, and it's one of those few steps that you have to do a lot here and there on your system for it in the end to give like a huge payback. So doing this and all kinds of other things that I mentioned on my channel will really help you like get to the essence of the sound, so it doesn't just become about this hollow shell of bits and pieces of information. You get to the feelings, the essence, the substance of the sound. So if you're running a modem, maybe you're not, but if you are, they usually run with RJ11 cables from the wall telephone sockets to the modem. You might want to consider having a high quality cable that is a higher rating. That doesn't have to cost a lot. That can usually be had for like $5, $10, $15. That can not only make your internet faster, but it can also it just creates a more natural reactive type of sound. So you might as well do it, because your internet anyway gets faster. And I haven't really mentioned this in this video, but also if you can keep everything on your streamer directly on it, so you don't have to travel over the net, that usually also improves the sound. And again, if we want to go more into this direction, 44.1 files directly on your PC, I'd rather recommend that instead of doing DSD, high res or whatever. Yes, to some degree those things sound kind of good in its own element, but if you get used to 44.1, it's more truthful. You'll be able to tell more about your system, like flow wise. You'll be able to kind of see, okay, this isn't working, that's working. Whereas if you start messing around with DSD files, high resolution files, compensating EQ, DSD, DSP, whatever, you're getting into the zone of compensation where it kind of sounds better but not quite. So that's just a recommendation. You can do whatever you want. And just check out these videos. These are really powerful videos, the ones that I made. 16 levels of streaming, why audio streaming is currently stuck in the Stone Age, installing 7 different sound priorities, and the hidden treasure in hi-fi. Finally found it. Those are really good streaming videos, how you optimize your sound. This isn't just there's very little to do with streaming, but it serves a bigger purpose, so you might as well also look at that, because that's also important to getting a good streamer sound. So I just wanted to kind of end with a fun fact, because a lot of people think that power and grip and control and signature has mostly to do with your amplifier or your speaker, or maybe even your DAC. But once you get into a really good streamer setup, you actually realize that a huge part of that actually comes from the streamer. Once you set it up right, once you have your proper power cables, your proper power bar, all that stuff. So it's kind of something to think about, because I just see so many people constantly thinking about, oh, is this powerful enough? Should I go for the bigger model? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I think it's a bad mindset to think about monoblocks that have 500, 600, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 watts, whatever. I think it's a really bad mindset, because when you're thinking in that way, you're usually just about, you know, getting the power, getting the grip, getting the control, whereas the signature kind of fades off in the background. So if you really fix the streamer sound so it becomes like one of the strongest parts of your system, so that everything that is the streamer, everything around the streamer, internets, related stuff, for example, or if you have like a NAS, whatever you call it, drive, where you store your local music files, if you have all of that sorted out at a high level, you can easily make a normal weak streamer go from only being able to fill up a 15 to 30 square meter room to suddenly fill up a 25 to 50 square meter room, you know, because it's just so much more solid that you're able to do that. Then you suddenly don't have to upgrade to a streamer that's 5, 10, 20,000 more expensive. So yeah, I mean, of course, like if you watch those videos that I've talked about here, that of course goes into like building the streamer, which is probably a lot more important than this video. But you just want to remove generally the streamer from your audio system, and you know I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because I can't currently do this. You know, if I could, I would definitely do it, but currently how my room is made right now, I don't physically have the possibility of doing that, because then I have to use a circuit breaker that is connected with another room which has normal cable, normal circuit breaker, normal wall plug, and I just don't want to do that. You know, I'd rather just have my streamer on together with everything else, because that's the current problem that I have, that I will soon solve. But I've tested it where I did as I've written here, and the sound is just so much more pleasant, so much more free, and it doesn't have that chokehold on your amp or your DAC. Whereas when you have your streamer and all your internet gear on the same power bar as all your audio equipment, it just chokes it. You know, it just goes like grabs it at the neck, and you can kind of get away with it mostly, but you just don't get that like sort of feeling, you know, where it fully lets go and becomes itself and is free and starts to, you know, become a bit more human and blossom. And of course it will be more obvious the more that you go up in system, you know, the better streamer you have, the better cables you have, the better room and all of that. But at least try and remove it if it's possible. That's at least what I'm gonna do as soon as I've got a technician here after all this corona shizzle. Yeah, just a lot of really good advice for people with a streamer. So yeah, like and subscribe if you can. Bye.